Corrupt sheriff strikes waitress, instantly realizes his mistake. The diner was packed for a Tuesday night. Truckers at the counter, families in the booths, the smell of burnt coffee and fried onions hanging thick in the air. No one expected the sheriff to lose control, but he did. It started with a spilled drink. The waitress barely had time to apologize before the sheriff stood up so fast his chair slammed into the wall. His badge caught the light as he turned, heavy, polished, proud. "You blind," he snapped. "I'm so sorry, sir," she said, already reaching for napkins. "It was an accident." He didn't hear the word accident. All he heard was disrespect. "You think you can just dump drinks on me?" he growled, loud enough for the entire diner to hear. Heads turned, conversations slowed. The waitress's hands shook. "Please, I'll clean it." The slap came so fast it didn't register at first. Just the sound, sharp, flat, final. The room froze. Her head snapped to the side. A napkin fluttered to the floor. For a heartbeat, nobody moved, like the world itself needed a second to process what had just happened. Then a child cried. The waitress steadied herself against the counter. She didn't scream, didn't fall. She just looked back at him, not with fear, with something else. The sheriff exhaled hard, chest rising like he'd just won something. "Watch where you're going next time," he said. That's when he noticed the silence. Every eye was on him. The waitress's manager rushed forward. "Sheriff, please." "Stay out of it," he barked. "This is my county." The waitress bent to pick up the napkin. That's when the sheriff saw her wrist. A small mark, faded, intentional. His confidence flickered, just for a second, but he pushed it down. "Get back to work," he said. She straightened slowly. "Yes, sir," she replied calmly. Too calmly. She turned away, and that's when the diner door opened. A man in a dark suit stepped inside, then another, then a third. The third man wore a uniform the sheriff had only seen from a distance. Stars on the shoulders. Not one, not two, 4. The conversations died instantly. The sheriff felt it before he understood it, that subtle shift in power, like gravity itself had changed direction. The man with 4 stars paused just inside the door. His eyes swept the diner once, then locked onto the waitress, and then the sheriff. The Admiral didn't rush, didn't shout. He walked forward calmly, boots echoing against the tile. The sheriff smiled nervously. "Evenin', sir. What brings—" "Did you strike her?" the Admiral asked. The question cut clean through the room. The sheriff blinked. "Sir?" The Admiral repeated himself, quieter. "Did you strike the waitress?" The sheriff laughed weakly. "She spilled." The Admiral stepped closer. "Answer the question." The sheriff swallowed. "Yes." The waitress's manager gasped. The Admiral nodded once. Then he turned to the waitress. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head. "No, sir." "Sir." The sheriff's stomach dropped. The Admiral turned back. "She is not a waitress." The sheriff frowned. "Sir, I don't—" The Admiral continued. "She is on loan to an interagency task force." The waitress reached into her apron, pulled out an ID, placed it gently on the counter. The sheriff leaned forward and went pale. Federal insignia, clearance levels he didn't even know existed. "She was undercover," the Admiral said, "until you touched her." The sheriff's voice cracked. "I didn't know." The Admiral's eyes hardened. "You didn't need to know. You needed self-control." He turned to one of the men with him. "Call internal affairs, state and federal." The sheriff backed away. "This is blown out of proportion." The Admiral leaned in so close the sheriff could smell his aftershave. "You assaulted a federal operative in public." The sheriff whispered, "Please." The Admiral straightened. "Badge. Now." With shaking hands, the sheriff removed his badge and placed it on the counter. The sound it made was small, permanent. The Admiral nodded. "You're done." Deputies entered moments later, not his. The waitress stepped back as the sheriff was cuffed. As he was led away, he looked at her, finally understanding, finally afraid. The Admiral turned to her. "You okay to continue?" he asked. She shook her head. "Yes, sir." He smiled faintly. "Good, because tonight just cleaned house." She tied her apron again. The diner returned to life. Orders resumed, coffee poured, and the waitress kept working, calm, steady, invisible again. But the sheriff? He never wore a badge again. The badge stayed on the counter long after the sheriff was gone. No one touched it. The waitress, no, the operative, glanced at it once, then returned to the kitchen as if nothing unusual had happened. That was the hardest part for people to understand later. How someone who'd just been struck could move on so easily. But she wasn't moving on, she was switching modes. In the kitchen, the noise swallowed her. Clattering pans, sizzling grills, shouted orders. She leaned against the prep table and exhaled slowly, letting the adrenaline drain just enough to think clearly. The diner door opened again, not loudly, not dramatically. Two men in plain clothes entered, eyes scanning, posture unmistakable. Federal. The manager noticed and stiffened. "They're with me," the waitress said quietly as she passed. One of the men nodded. "Ma'am." They slipped into the back office. The Admiral was already there, jacket off, sleeves rolled. The badge lay on the desk between them. "That slap," he said without preamble, "triggered more than you know." She sat. "I figured." He tapped the badge. "This man's name has been floating around for months. Intimidation, evidence suppression, missing reports." "So he wasn't just corrupt," she said. "He was protected," the Admiral replied, "until tonight." One of the agents spoke. "Body cam footage just uploaded. He turned it off before the incident." The waitress almost smiled. "Of course he did." "That alone is enough," the agent continued. "But combined with assault on a federal asset," the Admiral finished the thought, "it opens every door." Outside, a patrol car idled. Not county, state. The waitress leaned back. "What happens to my cover?" "It's gone," the Admiral said, "but the op isn't." She raised an eyebrow. "We don't pull threads, we follow them." The door creaked open. A deputy stood there, young, nervous, eyes down. "Sir," the deputy said to the Admiral, "the sheriff's asking to speak with you." The Admiral's jaw tightened. "Where?" "In the car." The Admiral stood. "Stay here," he told her. She didn't argue. From the back window, she watched the Admiral walk out into the flashing lights. The sheriff sat in the back seat, cuffs tight, sweat running down his temple. He looked smaller now. The Admiral opened the door. "You want to talk?" the Admiral asked. The sheriff swallowed. "I messed up." "Yes," the Admiral said calmly, "you did." "I didn't know who she was." "You knew she was human." The sheriff winced. The Admiral leaned in. "And here's the part you don't understand yet." "What?" the sheriff whispered. "She wasn't the investigation." "Then what was?" The Admiral straightened. "You were." The door shut. Inside, the waitress felt her phone vibrate, a secure line she hadn't checked in weeks. One message: "We're moving, tonight." She closed her eyes. The slap had ended one career, but it had just started something much bigger.